It was the only time I thought, God, I wish I had a husband. I couldn't. It wasn't until I was finally single at 62 that I began to feel I was where I was supposed to be.
Jane Fonda, an icon of film, fitness, and activism, has lived a life of very public marriages and relationships. But in her later years, she has reflected with stunning honesty on the roads not taken. This is not about gossip, it is about understanding the connections that shape a legacy. She once wrote, "It took me 60 years to learn how to love." Today, we explore the 6 men Jane Fonda believed, with a different timing or a different perspective, could have been the partner for a lifetime. Stay with us until the end, where we reveal the profound personal realization that changed her view on love forever. And the 5th name, a story of quiet love and unspoken possibility, may touch your heart the most. If you appreciate stories of reflection and redemption, subscribe to Legendary Archives. Number 1. Roger Vadim. In the soft glow of Paris in the early 1960s, Jane Fonda was not yet the legend we know today. She was a young woman trying to breathe beyond her father's towering shadow. And then came Roger Vadim, the French filmmaker, who had once turned Brigitte Bardot into a global symbol of desire. To Jane, he seemed like a passport to another world, one of art, sensuality, and rebellion. In her memoir, My Life So Far, Jane wrote with disarming honesty, "I was so desperate to be molded by someone, to be told who I was." My Life So Far, page 150. Vadim saw that vulnerability and shaped it into something cinematic. He cast her in films like La Ronde, 1964, and later Barbarella, 1968. The futuristic goddess role that shattered Hollywood's girl-next-door illusion and unveiled Jane Fonda as something new, fearless, provocative, and unmistakably her own. But behind the shimmering lights of Paris, their life was complicated. She once told The Guardian in 2015, "I thought Roger was my freedom, but I was giving up parts of myself to fit his world." Vadim encouraged her to embrace sensual freedom, broadened her artistic horizons, yet that liberation came with a quiet cost. In her words on Oprah's Masterclass in 2011, "Roger opened one door for me, but I walked into another kind of confinement." They shared a daughter, Vanessa, born in 1968, and for a time, Jane believed she had found a life worth building. Yet, as she later admitted, "He taught me a lot about life and love, but I was always performing, even at home." The Guardian, 2015. Vadim had awakened her to passion and possibility, but it was also through him that she learned her most painful truth, that love cannot flourish where authenticity is sacrificed. He was the man who taught her to fly, and the reason she learned how much it hurt to fall. Number 2. Tom Hayden. By the early 1970s, Jane Fonda had already lived several lives: Hollywood darling, European muse, reluctant star. But when she met Tom Hayden, everything changed. He wasn't dazzled by her fame, her beauty, or her past. To him, she wasn't Jane Fonda, the actress. She was simply Jane, a woman with conviction, curiosity, and an unyielding desire to make the world better. Fonda later wrote in her memoir, My Life So Far, "Tom wasn't impressed by my fame. He valued my commitment to the cause, my mind." My Life So Far, page 251. It was 1971, and the anti-war movement was roaring through America's veins. Jane and Tom stood side by side at protests, rallies, and teach-ins, their bond forged in purpose rather than passion. "We were political and moral soulmates," she recalled in her 2018 documentary, Jane Fonda in 5 Acts. Together, they built more than a marriage. They built a movement. Their production company, IPC Films, created anti-war documentaries like Introduction to the Enemy to support their activism. They lived frugally, rejecting the glamour she once embodied. In her memoir, Fonda shared, "I embraced a simpler life to prove my commitment. My life so far." Page 260. Their son, Troy Garrity, was born in 1973 into this world of revolution and idealism, a living symbol of their union between art and activism. But with time, the weight of that shared mission began to pull them apart. Their marriage became, as Fonda admitted, a partnership of purpose, not passion. In Jane Fonda in 5 Acts, she reflected softly, "Tom was who I needed to become the activist I was meant to be. But our personal connection couldn't sustain us forever. He had given her direction, discipline, and moral courage, but the cost was emotional distance. He didn't just awaken her conscience, he redefined what it meant for her to have one." Number 3. Ted Turner. When Jane Fonda met Ted Turner, it felt like stepping into another universe, one of private jets, sprawling ranches, and endless horizons. The fiery activist who once shouted against the establishment now found herself beside one of the most powerful men who ever built one. Turner, the founder of CNN, was bold, unpredictable, and full of life. Everything about him commanded attention. In her memoir, My Life So Far, Fonda confessed, "I wasn't in love with him at first. I was just overwhelmed by his energy. He swept me off my feet." My Life So Far, page 352. After years of turbulence and activism, she saw in him a kind of safety, a world that felt stable, even comforting. "I thought Ted's world could give me the stability I craved after so much turmoil," she wrote. My Life So Far, page 352. Their marriage became her era of beige, as she called it, a time when she softened her own edges to fit into his vast orbit. For a decade, she lived a quieter existence. Philanthropy dinners, foundation galas, and long days on his Montana ranch. Ted adored her, yet struggled to fully understand her need for solitude and introspection, though he tried to support her space. "He loves constant company, and I need solitude to think, to write, to just be," she told People in 2018. It wasn't an angry breakup. It was something deeper, a reckoning. In her memoir, Jane recalls the day she told him she had to leave. "I knew I could not stay married if it meant losing myself again." My Life So Far, page 380. In her quiet grace, Jane later reflected, "Ted brought laughter to my life, and I hope I brought depth to his. We loved each other the best we could." My Life So Far, page 375. He offered her a kingdom, but she chose to reclaim her crown. Number 4. James Franciscus. Before the flashbulbs, before the protests, before the world knew her name, there was James Franciscus. He wasn't a mogul or a visionary. He was a young actor with kind eyes and a quiet determination, just like her. It was the mid-1950s, when Jane Fonda was still finding her voice, attending classes at the Actors Studio in New York, and learning to trust her own talent rather than her last name. In those days, the theater world felt smaller, more intimate, a place of late-night rehearsals, shared dreams, and conversations about art rather than fame. Jane and James moved through that world side by side, two hopeful souls discovering who they were. There was no scandal, no headlines, no cameras, just a brief, tender connection between two young actors. In her memoir, My Life So Far, Fonda looked back on those early years as a simpler time before everything changed. My Life So Far, page 95. She recalled Franciscus as her first romantic encounter, writing, "He was my first, a sweet moment." My Life So Far, page 105. On The Tonight Show in 2021, she added, "Jimmy Franciscus was my first kiss, a sweet memory in summer stock. There was no grand love affair, but a fleeting warmth that marked her coming of age." Franciscus, who would go on to modest success in television, represented a moment of simplicity for Jane. There was no power dynamic, no rebellion, no cause to defend, just youth, just possibility. And maybe that's why his name lingers, not as a grand love, but as a gentle reminder of who Jane Fonda was before she became Jane Fonda, the girl who found a first spark of connection, before life called her to bigger stages. Number 5. Robert Redford. Some bonds never fade. They simply evolve. For Jane Fonda, Robert Redford was never just a co-star. He was a mirror, a muse, and a cherished friend whose presence felt like home. From their first film, Barefoot in the Park, 1967, to The Electric Horseman, 1979, and finally, Our Souls at Night, 2017. Their partnership spanned over half a century, a cinematic love story that unfolded just as tenderly off-screen. In her memoir, My Life So Far, Jane wrote, "With Bob, there was always an ease. I didn't have to prove myself. He let me be me. My Life So Far," page 202. She often described their connection as playful, natural, and safe, something rare in Hollywood. During a 2017 interview with the New York Times, she admitted softly, "I've been in love with him for 50 years, in a friendship kind of way." Their chemistry wasn't born from passion alone, but from a deep understanding of each other's solitude. Fonda once said on The Today Show in 2017, smiling at Redford beside her, "The only problem with working with Bob is I kind of fall in love with him every time." To which he replied quietly, "She's a great kisser." The affection between them was undeniable, rooted not in what happened, but in what never needed to. Both were married to others during their most magnetic years, yet their bond endured, untouched, unbroken. Fonda reflected in 2015, "I was always in love with him, but we were never single at the same time." The Guardian, 2015. Their friendship, she said, was a gift deeper than romance. Robert Redford was never the love story that happened. He was the one that never had to, the man who didn't change her life, but illuminated it just by standing beside her. Number 6. Donald Sutherland. There was a time when love and rebellion were one and the same, and in that electric era of the early 1970s, Jane Fonda found both in Donald Sutherland. They met on the set of Clute in 1970, where Fonda's sharp intelligence and Sutherland's quiet power sparked an immediate, undeniable chemistry. What began as artistic collaboration quickly evolved into a brief romance and a partnership of purpose. Two fierce spirits joined in protest and belief. In her memoir, My Life So Far, Jane recalled, "Donald was my lover for a time, a friend, and a partner in our anti-war work. We were caught up in the cause." My Life So Far, page 232. Together they launched the bold FTA, Free the Army Tour, in 1971, performing in towns near U.S. military bases to oppose the Vietnam War. Their message was defiant, their connection unshakable. Sutherland later told The Guardian in 2008, "We put a lot on the line with FTA, our careers, our public images, but it was worth it for what we believed." Their love was never meant for Hollywood headlines. It was intimate, restless, and born from the urgency of a movement. Fonda wrote, "We were united in a common cause. My Life So Far," page 235. After Sutherland's passing, she reflected in 2024, "He was a brilliant partner in our activism, a dear friend." People, 2024. But as the flames of protest began to cool, so too did their romance. The same intensity that drew them together eventually faded. Yet, decades later, Fonda spoke of Sutherland with profound affection, noting their shared commitment shaped her activist path. Donald Sutherland was not the man she built a life with. He was a vital spark in her defiance, remembered in gratitude. Jane Fonda's journey through love has never been about conquest or scandal. It's about transformation. From Roger Vadim's passionate chaos to James Franciscus's youthful innocence, from Donald Sutherland's rebellion to Tom Hayden's purpose. From Ted Turner's comfort to Robert Redford's quiet companionship, each man shaped a chapter in her lifelong search for self. In her memoir, My Life So Far, Fonda wrote, "For so long, I tried to be what men wanted. In my 60s, I finally became myself." That realization wasn't born in fame or politics. It was born in stillness, in honesty, in the courage to stop performing. As we reflect on Jane's remarkable path, maybe we can all ask the same question. Who were the people that changed you? Even if they never stayed, we'd love to hear your reflections in the comments below. If this story of redemption and honest introspection moved you, please like this video, subscribe to Legendary Archives, and hit the notification bell for more cinematic journeys into the lives of extraordinary souls who loved, lost, and learned. Thank you for watching.